Welcome to another episode of How I Discovered My Gift with yours truly, David D. Simons. And I'm excited for us to have our part two. We rarely ever do a part two, but when someone is just given so much sauce, so much value, such a powerful story and profound story, like our guest, Tommie Traffic, aka Tommie Powers, we got to really go into it. We got to give it the justice in the due time. So, we were at the point in the previous episode where we were talking about the support system, the incredible support system that Tommie has in his family and his reason for living, and just how at a point where he questioned God, why didn't you just take me? You know, it is at the very moment that foundation was used to be the catapult to take him into the heights and to the climb and to the success of what he's become. So, Tommie, take it away, brother.
Yeah, man. It's going back to those days. On the backside of heart failure is what you're referencing. Yeah, man, it was tough, right? Not having income, not having a job any longer. Being a married man with children, and being a provider, being important to me as who I am as a man. And not being able to do that, not knowing what the future might hold. Man, yeah, I was in a dark place where I did question, like, why didn't you just take me? Like, why am I still here? Like, what am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
There were days when I couldn't even go upstairs because we, at that time we had upstairs, downstairs. And I used to have to stay downstairs for 2-3 days at a time because fluid would back up so much in my legs, it would go down to my ankles, and my ankles be like so big I can't even lift, I can't even walk because they're so heavy. Or if I'm at the top, I can't come downstairs for days at a time because I can't walk downstairs. You know what I'm saying? And I remember one day I was downstairs and my wife was going to work, and I couldn't even get up to go use the bathroom. I had to go on myself. And I know it's like, I'm comfortable like sharing. It's like I used to would never share something like that. But it's just like, that's how real it was. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was real. And, man, that's demoralizing, bro. That'll make you really question. You know what I'm saying? And so, the flip did switch for me because, I had to look at my kids in the face, and I don't know, it's just something. Looking at my kid, I had 2 at the time, looking them in the face, just kind of like, man, like, what's going to happen? Like, if I ain't here, if I ain't doing or whatever, what's going to happen with them? What's the story that they going to have to be told?
Yeah.
And so I decided, that day is like the story they going to tell their dad who went out swinging. He went out fighting for them. And that's kind of where it flipped it. You know what I'm saying? So things kind of started to turn around after that, and fast forward into, we can get into all of the other things that happened after that, but that's definitely was a pivotal thing for me. Yeah,
wow.
Man.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know, I think it's important, right, for people to see people that have overcome great adversity, because it's inspirational, and it gives you hope, because sometimes a person may say, wow, well, Tommie, I guess I don't have it that bad. I'm able to walk up the stairs, down the stairs. Like, what's my excuse? Like, you canceling excuses, right? To go from that level of, I'd say, trauma, right?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure.
So talk to us about the climb. Now, you're going through that, and now what happens next? You got your motivation, you got your will to live, and your kids are inspiring your desire to make it happen. Talk to us about that transformation and what starts to happen.
Yeah, I think we kind of got into it a little bit last time with the affiliate marketing and everything like that, right? That was kind of like on the back end of that, where I kind of was trying to find a way, where there wasn't a way.
Right.
And, the internet, I had dabbled around, I had did eBay and, sold different things. I had sold some things online before, mostly eBay stuff.
Right.
So I already felt like the internet was a real thing
Mm-hmm.
because I had made real money with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also felt like it was the future, and I felt that way when I was young. I mean,
Yeah.
I won't go too far back into all of that, but when I graduated high school, my major was computer engineering.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Because I believed so much in what computers were gonna do,
Right.
for the future, and I wanted to be part of that, right? And so, I changed my major to business. By the time I graduated college, I ended up graduating in the business major, but just kind of brought me back to the computer, the engineering, the eBay, all of the things. As I'm inventorying all of the things, I'm like, this internet thing is something here. And
Yeah.
then obviously, even back then, people were stunting, in the private jets and all of that kind of stuff. It's just when people look like us doing it back then, but there was a lot of that, kind of bravado, how much money I'm making, money flying out the sky, all of that, like make money online, right? And so I'm like, I'm gonna make money on this internet. I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I stumbled into affiliate marketing first. And then as an affiliate, it made sense to me, buy low. I mean, basically hustle, right? Buy low, sell high, or, you know what I'm saying? Connect, the buyers with sellers, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever the case may be, right? Being a conduit of a transaction. I had done that ever since I sold candy at school at 8, 9 years old. You know what I mean? I always had a hustle, right? There was always a way to make money. So it made sense to me that if I could find people that want to buy this thing that people are selling and connect them, I could get a cut. I can get paid for that. That made sense to me, right?
Yep.
Just as a base idea. And I pursued that. And as I'm pursuing that, I was trying to figure out, what do people want to buy and where are these people, right? And in the process of that, I was doing everything under the sun, from made for AdSense. I was building websites and WordPress blogs and auto blogs, and like every little money making scheme you can think of in a $37 ebook. I was buying all of them, you know what I mean? Trying, And one day I was on a forum and a guy was like, man, if you really just want to make it easy, you should just buy traffic on Google. You can just buy ads on Google.
Right.
And send them to your affiliate links. And I was like, wow, really? Like, how do I get more about that? This guy, Chris Carpenter, he got a book called Google Cash. Buy that, read it. It'll tell you exactly what to do. Say less. Bought the book. I probably read that thing in less than 2 hours because it wasn't even that long. And when I got through, I'm like, that's it. All right, man, let me go sign up for a Google account. And once I did that, finally I set up some campaigns, maybe like a week later or something. And the first day I logged in, I saw the stats on that dashboard. I was sucked in. I was like, oh boy. And I told my wife, I was like, our life about to change. And she looked at me like, what?
Wow.
Like, what? Get out of my face. Like, what is you talking about? And I'm trying to explain to her what I'm doing. She's like, man, get out of here. Like, at the time, I ain't making no money, right? I'm busted. My wife bringing the money in. 2007, bro, I made like $5,000 the whole year.
Wow.
So I ain't bringing no money in the house, but I'm telling my wife our life about to change. She's like, man, you tripping.
Wow.
Because I've been buying $37 ebooks and buying traffic, and I'm spending the little money we got.
Right.
My wife, she thought I was out of my mind, but I kept going with that, and eventually I figured out how to run affiliate offers on Google, and that kind of changed everything. Which then, 2008, I made like $300,000. Changed my life. And from that moment, I'm like, I ain't doing nothing else. I'm gonna stay in this lane. I'm gonna ride this till it just fall apart. I'm gonna stay right here. You know what I mean? Right. And that's kind of what I've been doing. So fast forward to end of 2009, going into 2010, Google shut me down. And I had already started playing around with Facebook, native ads, and what they call them back then. I forget, content links is what it was called back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I was already trying a lot of different other ad strategies, buying ads. I had bought probably every way, buying banner ads on somebody's website. We called them, excuse me, we would do direct site buys.
Yeah.
I was doing all of that stuff, programmatic, you name it.
Wow.
Just kind of like honing my chops. Because I'm like, I know I'm going to be in this space, but 90, 95% of my money was still coming from the Google,
Wow.
So when Google shut me down overnight, I went from, 50, 60K to the next month. I think I made like $8,000 to the next month. I was making $0. Like it happened that fast. Fast forward to August, somewhere around there, 2010, we was bankrupt. I lost all my cars, got repoed, sold all the jewelry, house got foreclosed, the whole shebang, bro. Like it just came crashing down.
Why? How?
Man, the money would come in one door and going out the other one. That's how. You think, hey, you take a guy, Mississippi, never really had a lot. I ain't poor. Like we didn't grow up poor now. I ain't a lot of times. I have to give my folks credit, just where I'm from, like people here, Mississippi. And yeah, I grew up on a farm and rock roads and all of that, but bro, we wasn't like poor people. My family was working class. So if I was to take you to Mississippi, you'd see nice homes, cars, my uncle got a Bentley, you know what I mean? Like, let's give, for real, you know what I'm saying? So it ain't like I grew up poor, but that's their money. It wasn't my money, you know what I'm saying? So I had to learn how to get my own.
Right.
But we wasn't like rich per se either.
Yeah.
So, I started making the kind of money that nobody in my family had ever seen before. To be able to make $300,000 in a year, it wasn't that many people that I knew at the time that were doing it at that level. So I started hitting heights that nobody around me. So financial literacy, man, even though your family telling you save your money and do this and do that, bro, I ain't hearing none of that. I'm buying cars and putting rims on them and jewelry, stunting, going to the strip club, making it rain, all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because, look, $50,000, it sounds like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, that ain't really a lot of money for, my third daughter, my last child was born 2008. So, by the end, I got 3 kids and a wife, my family, nice home, cars, responsibilities. And I'm making 50, but I'm spending 20, 25 of that. If I do, probably my best month was like 65,000. I probably spent like 30 grand, to generate that. So I'm not netting 50,000, 60,000, right? On an average month, I might be netting 20 to 25,000. You still got to pay taxes on that too. So what we're doing is we're spending the money, it's coming in one door and going out the other door.
Wow.
So once the money stops, like it's abrupt, right? Like I said, I think we made like 50, I think we did like 55K. I probably netted maybe like 25 of that.
Yeah.
And the next month we made like 8,000 and I probably didn't really even net much of that.
Yeah.
To the next month, zero money coming in. It wasn't zero. It was probably like $1,000 or $800, but like nothing. Bro, I got a mortgage. I got car notes. I got, some stuff I bought cash, but some stuff I put on note, things of that nature. So bills is crazy.
I can only
so, you do that and you go 6-7 months a row of that, even though I had a little bit of money stashed away, you got that kind of bread going out the door month over month over month. It catch up fast.
That's right.
By the time August hit, I'm busted. Probably before August, because the house we ended up losing our house, foreclosed the house. I think that was like August or September.
Wow.
So, you got to be 3, 4, however many months behind before you can do that. So I kind of stopped paying that and was trying to kind of keep other things because I kind of figured, we can move out, the house. But let me try to kind of keep some of these other things and maybe we just downsize, which we ended up doing. So, yeah. But in the midst of that, the cars, I had to let all of it go. I couldn't keep it up. So, just terrible money management,
Mm.
basically.
Wow. So you went through the journey, right? The lows, the highs, the lows, and that I'm sure stung even more, right? Because
Oh yeah.
like
Oh.
you're like, man, I came out of a really hard situation, and I got us out of that, and then to lose that. So what happened after that? Now, going into this next high, and I'm sure you're changed as a person, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a family man. What happened then?
Buddy of mine hit me up one day, knew I was needing money, and was like, "Hey, I got these guys. They want you to run their ads. I want to put you in touch. I think you ought to talk to them." I'm like, "Why? Why should I talk to them about what?
Mm-hmm.
They want you to run their ads. Why would I do that? Because they pay and you need money." And I was like, "I do need money." Like, wait, people gonna pay me to run ads for them? Yeah, people pay to run ads for them. What? Yeah. Sign me up. Yeah. Send them that info. Yeah, sign me up. Because I needed money, and that's how I got in the agency game. I didn't even know what an agency was. I didn't even know that was an opportunity. You know what I mean? But once that happened, I started digging, trying to understand agency and how they work and all of that. But that's how I got in the agency game. Yep.
Wow. So take us through I mean, it's hard to distill this down, but you not only got in the agency game, but you became one of the top traffic buyers, period, and have spent well over 9 figures in traffic. So back to your gift of pattern recognition,
Yep.
you've been able to see with that kind of spend, you've been able to see virtually everything, So yeah, talk to us about that. Like now you become a fixture in the industry, a well-respected name, and how did that take place, right? Because you go from not knowing what an agency is to being in demand.
Yeah. I mean, look, my name is always important. I'm named after my daddy first and foremost. So I mean, that name, means something. Even, and I won't get into that, but just my family history. When my father's father passed away when I was 10 months.
Mm.
And at the time, I was the only grandchild he had that was a boy with the last name Powers.
Mm.
So, from that up until 12 years old, I got a cousin now that's 12 years younger than me who has the name. He's carrying the name as well. But for the first 12 years of my life, I had to carry the name. I'm the person to carry the name.
Mm.
So, that's kind of a little bit, I won't get too deep into that, but that's like the name, you know what I'm saying? It's everything.
Mm.
My name gotta mean something, you know what I mean? So I've always had that mentality. But when I get into the space, honestly, man, I have to for years, I didn't really realize, even the pattern recognition thing, it was years later when I really was able to kind of tie that together. But God working mysterious ways, right? As the saying goes. Affiliate marketing forced me to know monetization first. Because buying traffic is cool, but if you can't make that work when you spending your own money and you can't turn it into more.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you can do that is you got to understand monetization. You got to understand what an offer is. You got to understand how people buy, why they buy, like all of these things that I had to go through to make that work.
Mm-hmm.
Gave me a skill set that most people in the agency space didn't have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So by the time I get into the agency space, I have the God-given ability of pattern recognition, and then I have this understanding monetization component to what I'm bringing with me from that experience.
Right.
So that when I'm looking at clients' things, I'm understanding oh, you ain't doing this and you ain't doing that, or we need to do this or we need to do that. Mm-hmm. And then as I graduate further into it, I learn more. You start working with different people, you get more exposed, they open the door. Just as much as I'm creating outcomes for people, I'm also getting access to things that I probably never would have gotten, and it just kind of snowballs. And because I'm the mindset of my name meaning something, I treat still to this day every opportunity, every relationship the same, as my name depends on how I deal with this, right?
Right.
So that just, next thing you know, people saying, hey, talk to such and such, I'm gonna put you in touch with, most of my biggest clients I've ever had were all referred to me from another client that I crushed for. So it just started snowballing, and the more and more I learned, the more I understood the variables of the game. And as a result of understanding the variables of the game and having a God-given ability of pattern recognition, I can look at a pattern and understand the variables that created that pattern, whether it's good or bad, and then understand, maybe what we ought to do, even from a theoretical perspective early on. But the more and more and more and more I get, I'm operating from experience of having done. Or I'm also tapping into people that are doing it already. Like I'm not gonna act like I figured it all out on my own. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm learning from my clients. Yeah. I'm learning from other media buyers. I'm learning from, I'm doing the mastermind things and the events. I did all of that for a long time. I kind of slowed up on it, as of lately, at least in the marketing world, the type of stuff, the rooms that I'm trying to be in now, I'm not necessarily trying to get in rooms of people that are doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to get in rooms of people who are doing what I want to be doing and ain't doing what I'm doing. Because they need what I do and I need what they do. They playing on a different, playing field. But anyway, I digress on that. But that's kind of what happened, man. And it's a long, winding conversation we could talk about for a lot. But essentially, like the overarching of it is it's just compounding effect. And, then again, I'm a pattern recognition. So I'm also looking at the industry in that same vein and trying to figure out what is these patterns that I'm seeing telling me where this thing is going. And that's the only reason why with the YouTube thing, I'm looking at the situation like, where is this thing going? Because I want to ride this out. I'm in this lane until I crash and burn or whatever, God take me off the earth, whatever it may be. I'm going to stay right here. And I want to master this so I can leverage it into everything else that I do. Right. Yeah. And I'm looking at it and I'm, 5 years in the game, 2012. I'm like, where's this going? I'm looking at the patterns and all of the data that I'm seeing at the time saying video. Right. Video. Then I read an article says TV going to be on the internet. And I'm like, man, that kind of justified my thought process. And this wasn't just a random article, right? It was backed by, it was a legitimate source, legitimate people, right? Because I don't just read headlines on the internet. Like I want to know who is the person behind saying this and do they have any credibility? And they had a lot of credibility. And then Google being Google at the time, we already talking about a multi-billion-dollar company, even back then, right? That's right. It was $1 trillion company now. So it's just kind of like, man, video is where it's going. Wow. Get out in front of that. And I've kind of always just followed that pattern. And it's just one thing lead to another. And YouTube thing takes off. And then I did that and third. And then I end up in Silicon Valley because of YouTube, which is crazy still to me to this day. I end up in Silicon Valley where they build a YouTube. Like, why y'all, like, how are these people wanting me to come talk to them? And they the one out there building the thing. That's always what crazy to me, but it made a lot more sense when I got there. And it's just been a journey, man. It's just been a compounding effect, essentially. Wow. But yeah, man.
So Tommie, somebody listening to this right now and they don't have the slightest clue about YouTube. And if you could, in a, 10,000 foot view, give them like, what do they need to start? They're like, hey, Tommie, I don't have the gift of pattern recognition, but maybe I can listen to you for some keys to look out for, or as I'm starting and I want to get into YouTube advertising, or if you want to go into angle of advertising as a whole. But yeah, what would you say to that person that's listening to this right now and trying to figure their way out?
So the number one thing that most people fail with ads, in my opinion, is that they don't have a thing that's already selling.
Mm.
Now I get, okay, if you don't, if they trying to go the affiliate route, I mean, that is a route. That's the route that I took. But that's a painful route, because, if you don't have any skill in that arena, like you're gonna, it's gonna be tough. It's possible because it happened for me. But again, I had sold things on the internet before.
Right.
I had pattern recognition. I understand numbers and data and charts and things of that nature, right? And then I'm a bro, like I'm plowing through books, courses, stuff like that. Like I'm a sponge for information, and I'm obsessed with a thing. If I decide, when I make my mind up, I'm gonna do something. I'm like obsessed. I'll like never stop. I'll like crash out because I'm dedicated to, I've decided I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Nobody gonna tell me nothing otherwise. So if you got that in you, go for it. But if you were like in a business realm, you're an entrepreneur, you should have a thing that sells already. Because if you don't have that figured out, no amount of ads gonna work. No tactic, strategy, whatever that I'm gonna say is gonna matter. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta get that part down. So that's like the first order of business.
For sure.
But beyond that, it's pretty simple, to be honest, man. It's not easy. I don't want to get on here and portray like it's easy. You know how these guys be, whatever the case may be, because it's a lie. But it's simple in the fact that if you have something that's selling and you've proven that people are buying it consistently, all you got to do is figure out where those people are, what to say to those people, and put it in front of them. And so with ads, that is targeting, is getting in front of the right people, right? Yep. Creative is, what do you say in your ad to get that conversation going with those people? And then you already got a thing that's selling. That's your offer. Now, obviously, you can always improve your offer to make it stand out in the marketplace, right? To give you a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Right. So you want to look at that as well. But it's not that complicated in the grand scheme of things when you really kind of break it down into those kind of buckets right there.
Right.
And essentially, that's all we're doing. We're making sure that we have an offer that people want. We're finding those people and we're communicating to them about said offer. That's the simplest way that I can put it. And then beyond that, everything else is tactical, but that's the strategic 30,000 foot view of what you're looking at. So then now moving forward, everything you do, you should be able to understand whatever it is, which bucket is that in?
Right.
If Guru X is talking about this, or content creator Y over here is talking about that, or speaker guy on stage is saying this, or mentor is saying that, or whatever that may be, which bucket is that? Is that an offer thing? Is that a messaging creative thing? Is that a mechanism to reach my audience thing? Because that's what it is. That's literally it. You got sellers, you got buyers, and then everything in between is how you connect them together. And that's where your messaging come in at. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. It makes total sense. So if and is there, like you said, that applies across all different advertising platforms. Everything. Is there anything that people need to do or be mindful of for YouTube specifically?
I wouldn't say so. I think the biggest challenge with YouTube for most people is just their willingness to create video content. I mean, if you don't want to make videos, YouTube probably not that nothing's impossible. But I mean, it's just kind of a disadvantage for people who hate making videos. You know, and that could mean, you know, again, that's a broad statement too, right? Because I say making videos, I ain't necessarily saying you got to be in the video, right? It's probably important depending on the type of business you have. If you have an expert-based business or a personality-based business, you got to get it. You got to put your face on camera. But if you have a business where perhaps you may not be able to have to be personality-driven, there's a lot of different ways to bring a message to life in video format that doesn't require your face being in a camera. And I'll let people kind of go down that rabbit hole themselves on that. But there are ways, but you still have to be willing to create and produce video content.
That's right.
Otherwise, you know, the chances of you making a video ad and putting it up on YouTube and it's taking off is slim to none. It's very, very unlikely. It's not impossible. But highly unlikely. So probability is you're going to have to produce a lot of video content to test, to kind of find ways to speak to your audience and get them to tap in. And so that's the biggest thing. Because here's the thing too, Rand, and I'll wrap on that, but it's like these algorithms are so smart. They literally can find the right people for you. If your messaging is good, the algorithm will place it to the right audience. So even like finding the right people, it ain't even like what I used to have to do back in the day when I got started was a whole other thing, right? It's super duper ninja. It's so easier these days. It's really that messaging and the offer. Like if you got a thing that sells already, if you can create the proper messages for the people that is going to be interested and ready to take action on that offer, the algorithm will find those people. So you have to be really dialed in on that messaging. And in order to be dialed in on the messaging, you have to know your audience. And in order to know your audience, you have to do a lot of research. And you also should spend time with them, speaking to them, engaging with them, whatever it may be, like any way you can to understand how the people that you're selling to, how they think, what moves them, what makes them tick, what keep them up at night, what makes them happy, what make them excited, what the future, you know, like how do they see the solution you have? What does their life look like with that? Like all of those things, that's where when you spend time with them and you do your research about your audience, that's how you know that. And from that, that's going to allow you to create the messages that's going to connect and resonate. But people who want a shortcut, there are no shortcuts. The work is the work. But you can be smart about how you do the work. Right. And you can leverage, you know, without working so hard, right? I can tell you how to do it 5 times less than what it normally would take. Research. Spend the energy there. You got a great offer. You do the research, understand how to talk to your audience, spend a lot of energy on that. Algorithms will pretty much do the rest. That's amazing. Respect. That's gold right there. You give some gems. So, Tommie, if you don't mind, and you don't have to disclose any names, but if you could take us into some of these, like you've scaled campaigns that are just mind-blowing to levels of certain heights. And could you take us into like a campaign audibly and visually sharing with people, like, you know, an example where it started, where something started, and then where you guys were able to take it to, and maybe some of the things and some nuances that it takes to build, you know, campaigns that are doing millions and millions of dollars? It's so many. I mean, if people go look me up, they can see like some of the companies that I work with. So it's not like, you know, I don't want to withhold. I'm a pretty open book, you know, when it comes to that kind of stuff. There's so many. That's one of those questions where it's almost like you got to lead me. Like, what do you mean? Like, get more specific, because I could go 1,000 directions, man. I could go from Kevin Kurganski is still one of my favorite stories of all time. He was the first guy that allowed me to run the YouTube strategy that I came up with. Even though, like, I was trying to test it. I didn't really have an offer per se at the time. So I'm playing around with it. Maybe it's like some of the affiliate stuff or whatever, but like I needed a really solid offer to really test this idea with. And he was like, cool. And then I took that and it blew up. And then I took what I was doing for him and I showed it to the next client. And they was like, yep, we want you to do that for us. And it took off. And then I took it to another client. It's like, look what I'm doing for both of them. And then that took off.
Wow.
Fast forward, by the time I get to Organifi, we probably done ran that place 6, 7 times maybe. Out of those, probably like 5 out of 7 hit, like on some level. Maybe not like out of the park, but they hit, right? By the time I get to Organifi, it went to another stratosphere. You know what I'm saying? Because that deal is also one of my favorite stories because of just kind of the way it went down.
Yeah.
In the fact that they were doing digital programs. When they originally hired me, they was running digital programs and they was struggling on the ad side. They was doing well on the organic side. It was a 7-figure business. But the digital, they had kind of hit a ceiling there and they was trying to kind of break through. And one of my other clients that I just mentioned, you know, Kevin and like Mark Stockman, introduced me to Drew Canoli, and he basically was like, Tommie, you crushing it for me. He'll crush it for you. You should hire him. So those guys didn't even ask a lot of questions. They were just saying, Mark said it. Okay, we're working with you. So what does this look like? Right? It wasn't even no whole back and forth with them. They were just like, whatever you say, we in. And so that was great setup. And then the transition wasn't even my idea thing. It was just more or less, we tested some stuff on the digital product side. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, this ain't gonna do it. Like this ain't it. You know what I mean? Like, need to go back to the drawing board. And I recall telling them something like, we need to reevaluate your product suite.
Whoa.
But I ain't tell them about doing no supplements or no physical products. That wasn't my idea. That was their idea. So we ended up taking a hiatus. I want to say 4 months, 6 months, somewhere around up in there. And when they came back, they showed me Organifi. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, we out of here. And I looked at Jamel, Jamel ended up becoming the COO. He was a CEO. He was a COO at the time. And I was like, yo, this 20 million a year right here. I'm telling you. He was like, you think it's that big? I was like, bro, I'm telling you, we about to be out of here. And sure enough, that thing took off. So just kind of like the way that whole scenario kind of went down was exciting. But so a little nuance in that was the fact that, and I don't think, honestly, I can't take credit for how they landed on Organifi. I can't take credit for it. I don't remember exactly what happened. I just know they did the reach. They talked to their audience. When they came back to me, they had ran surveys and they had did all of these things. And what they realized through that process was, because Drew's thing at the time was juicing vegetables, was his Facebook page. He had probably like 1.7 million on that page even back then. And they had built a lot of leads. So they had a big email list that they had built off of that.
Yeah.
So they was having this conversation and people were saying, we love the information of juicing and training and all of that, but it would be so great if we just had a shortcut.
Yeah.
Like, what if I just, like, when I'm traveling, I don't gotta like run to the store and do all of this. Like, I would love, and that's kind of how they landed on that. The data from the research and the conversation that they were having with their audience was black and white, that we should do this thing. And it took off. And they was so right. So I can't even take credit for that. But the nuance is back to what I was talking about. Talking to your audience.
That's good. That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Understanding what their pain points are. They need, challenges, so forth and so on. And like really listening, not just hearing them, but listening to them engaging them, giving a damn, caring.
Right.
You know, and that's the level that these guys were operating from. You know, they were genuinely engaging with their audience, like, because they cared, because they wanted to create something great that can serve the people. That's how they landed on that, and that thing took off. That's why when I saw it, I was like,
wow,
bro, it's out of here.
So question for you, right? Now, this question is more for my agency people that are listening, that have agencies and maybe do some of the things that you and I do and managing campaigns and things. So when you think about an agency that wants to work with some of these brands and entrepreneurs and influencers and people out there, would you advise agencies to work with people that haven't sold the offer at all? And or would you say, like, hey, just work with only proven offers? That's the path. What would you say?
Well, I mean, it depends, right? You know, for me, I'm in a position where I don't have to do that, but I wasn't always in that position. So to me, you know, my mindset has always been, even still to this day, I operate with this mentality. Like, I don't just, you know, want a client to come on board and just because Tommie used to do this, that, and the third. No, it's what have you done for me lately, right? So I operate with every single opportunity, you know, as if I have to prove to them that they made a good investment, right? But prior to, there were times in my career where I understood short game and long game, where I would play a long game and not be so focused on the short money.
Right.
Where I would take on opportunities that wasn't really financially beneficial, and also very challenging scenarios. But I would set them up in a way where if I failed, it really wasn't no skin off of nobody back, and everybody can kind of go whatever they way, right? Because if I charge them a bunch of money and then I fail, that's a whole, you know, I might stain my name. But if I say, you know what, I ain't gonna really get too focused on money, I might have to ask them for a little something. But it'll be, you know, I could position it where it's like, hey, this is kind of where I'm at, you know, being honest with them. You know, I'm willing to work with you because I want to use what I'm gonna do with you to, you know, case study, to sell other people, whatever, however you frame it. And be honest with people, and folks will be down with that. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the ways that I've been able to do, because I ain't 100%. You know, I don't bet 1,000. You know, everything we do don't always work, even to this day. Like, sometimes things just don't work out for different reasons. But that's kind of how I approached it. So I would say, you know, there were times where it wasn't such a proven offer, but it was more about, I think this offer might work with the right ingredients. Is this someone that I believe is amenable to the things that I can help them do to make it so? And then if so, then how do I structure this in a way where if it don't work out, it don't look bad on me?
That's it.
It don't look bad. It's not a bad scenario. Because the worst thing that gonna happen is it failed and I learned something. Because I'm gonna learn.
There we go.
And so that's kind of how I did those. And then once I got a couple of trophies, if you will, I would just go to other people and be like, look at these trophies that I made for this person. You want one?
Right. That's
and then you just, but again, you got to have a mentality, a long-term game mentality to go that route, because, you know, some people, they want it and they want it now. And that's cool. But if you're willing to forego the short term and play the long game, you can find those opportunities aplenty.
Absolute respect.
Yep.
Wow. Love that. Love that. So, Tommie, we got two final questions. I know you got to run here. The first question is, where can people plug in with you and get access to you to learn about what you do, or they want to work with you, or if they want access to you, and how should they do that? So,
Tommie Traffic, like my name, Tommie with an IE. I'm at Tommie Traffic across the internet. I'm currently working on the mechanisms to give people those opportunities. I mean, obviously we run an agency, that's our primary business.
Right.
And then everything else cascades off of that. You know, so it's sometimes challenging with the, you know, teachings and things of that nature, but I'm absolutely working on that. My goal is to be producing more content this year.
Love
So, you know, kind of be on the lookout for, you know, YouTube being my primary hub. I would call that my education hub, if you will. Then we kind of can promote, you know, and push content on other platforms as well. But our main bread and butter stuff is going to live on YouTube. And then on the back end of that, we will have trainings and stuff. I don't have anything to announce immediately, but, you know, I'm working on that. But it's like the agency is the bread and butter because it kind of fuels everything else. I never want to be the guy teaching what used to work.
Right.
Like if you hear me talking about it, you know, if it came out 2 years ago now, you can't hold that on me because I dropped that 2 years ago.
Right.
But if I come out with something today, I'm talking about what's working today. Respect. I don't want to be making content talking about what used to work. Now, I might have case studies or something around, here's how we did a thing. Right. But, you know, my goal is to try to stay, you know, on the cutting edge of, which is why the agency is so important because that forces us every single solitary day to get up and make our bones and make it do what it do, right? And so off the back of that, that's kind of everything cascades. So that's kind of why I've struggled to kind of create content and all of that stuff as I'm trying to build out the systems for that and the team because I knew that. I've always known that the agency is number one. And until I can get a stable environment that allow me to do these other things, I'm not going to do these other things and not do that.
Respect.
Right. And again, agency for me might not always mean external clients, just to kind of, you know, I'm already kind of like got other things that I'm involved in. I've been making investments. I mean, I've been an investor for a minute now. So part of my goal is to build my agency eventually to a point where I'm, you know, I'm my own client in that, you know, as well. Right. So, but that's me. That's how you find me. That's what I'm about. Cool. And I would say just tap in, you know what I mean? And, you know, and stay tapped in. I might not be the guy that's going to crush your feed every single 24 hours, 365. And then, but I got some stuff I want to say.
I love it.
And I hope people tap in because I feel like it's too many mouths out here talking. And they ain't really giving the game up. I feel like there's a lot of gatekeeping going on in the world too, in our industry. So I want to do something about that. That means I got to come out. I got to put out.
Coming outside. I love it, man. I love it. Yep. So Tommie, the final question for you is, and you weren't prepped on any of the questions, and you weren't prepped on this one either. What's the difference between one's gift and one's purpose? One's gift and one's purpose.
Wow, that's a good question, man. You know, I would say a gift is what God gives you, and purpose is the one you find. You know, I mean, I think we all seeking our purpose, you know, and it's very challenging at times to know. I mean, it's a feeling, right? It's a feeling, but you're chasing that. And let's be real, like it changes. You know
that's 100.
I'm in a season of my life where there was a season of my life where I felt like I had hit my purpose. And then, but I'm in a season of my life now where I feel like I got a bigger purpose than that purpose. And I honestly think it's the gift and the curse, right? From the gift. Because almost the purpose could be the curse if you let it be, because it's like I'm trying to come to terms with you know, the challenge, right? It's the scoreboard for me, man. It's like people talking, it's like, man, are you looking at the scoreboard? Are you looking at the scoreboard? Cause I'm running it up right now, right? That constant need to run the scoreboard up, I'm trying to come to terms with that. Because the last purpose that I landed on, and I kind of wallowed in that for like 2 years, you know, kind of just chilling. My bank account was looking good, whatever. Now I got a bigger purpose. And then it's like, man, I think it's almost a curse. Like, it's like you get there and then you need another thing to go for. So I'm trying to come to terms with that. But but yeah, I think the purpose is the one you seek, the one that you find, and it just. I hope that I can come to peace with just
recording in progress.
Yep. No, that's
you know.
that's real. That's real, brother.
Yeah. I lost your audio.
You dropped.
Yes,
You dropped your
sir.
Can you hear me? I can't hear nothing. I don't know if my internet tripping.
Sorry about that, Tommie. That last piece there, something got caught in, but you can hear me. You can hear me, okay? But yeah, that last now we're gonna cut that last piece there. Sorry about that, but no, that's a fire answer, brother. That's fire.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Did I catch that or?
yeah. Oh man, you killed it, brother. That's
Okay.
and you're right. Purpose is evolving. It's changing. It's never like, oh, this is it. It changes as you change. So
Yes,
yeah, thank you so much for blessing us, man, and being on the show.
Man, hey, anytime, man. I hope that it, reaches who it need to and serves them.
Yeah,
We try to be good stewards. My kids know for me. I've always told them ever since they were little.
yeah.
One day when I'm no longer here, I want, you put a tombstone and say, "Here lies a man who left a world greater than he found it." Like that's kind of my purpose. So,
You're doing it.
yeah, man, that's what I'm trying to do. So I hope that serves somebody.
Oh yeah, major game. Well, awesome, brother. We're gonna plug all of that information in the show notes for people to plug in with you and connect with you.
Yes,
And
sir.
yeah, man, thank you so much for blessing the people.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, brother.